Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here. Today is the 27th, Friday, the 27th of March, 2020. And let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here. You know what? It says WHO, the World Health Organization, considers airborne precautions for medical staff after study shows coronavirus can survive in the air. I'm going to tell you guys what. I suspected that this was the case way back when I was watching what was happening on the cruise ships. I suspected that it was coming in through the air vents. In the air, they have an air distribution system inside the cruise ship, and that air distribution system moves air between one cabin and another cabin and so forth. And I suspected that this was the case. I also suspect something else. You guys know I try to stay ahead of the curve. I suspect that this is far more far more widespread than the government officials or the actual official numbers. I mean, far more widespread. But this also means that the disease, because it's so widespread, that what we're seeing in the numbers is reflecting on the people who get a bad case of it. And so what you're going to find is the mortality rate is probably much lower than they're estimating. And at the same time, the people who get it critically ill are probably lower than they're estimating. And this has probably already moved toward herd immunity much faster than they are estimating. And so we might be much further into this. In other words, it might be over a lot quicker than they're estimating. But at the same time, probably a high percentage of the population already has it. And I don't know exactly how high that percentage of the population might be, like in the United States of America right now. But I suspect the reasons why places like Iran right now are not showing the numbers increasing rapidly and the death rate increasing rapidly any longer is because everybody in Iran's had it. That's what I think. Almost everybody's had it. And I think Italy's getting to the point now where most people have probably had it. Most people probably just have it and get over it with a case of the sniffles, basically. And maybe a low-grade fever. And Boris Johnson now, he's come down with it. What's on Boris Johnson? Let me see. Breaking news. Boris Johnson tests positive in the United Kingdom, and our prime minister, his wife has had it, and he had to go into quarantine. You see these dignitaries, world leaders starting to come down with it, and an awful lot of the government in Iran has come down with it, and governments around the world. The Queen has in the United Kingdom has. I don't know if she's coming. How close she's come close to if she hasn't. And I mean, it's moving through. Like there's been aides and stuff in Buckingham Palace that have come down with it. So you see it start to. It's much more widespread than anyone cares to admit, and the numbers do not reflect how widespread it is. Around the world right now, to be quite honest, it could be hundreds of millions of people. Really, and we might be much further along toward herd immunity in the world than people could ever even rationalize. We might be approaching the we might be approaching the halfway point, much closer to the halfway point than most people realize. But I don't think we're halfway yet. And it's going to get worse until we get to the halfway point. It's just like anything. You got to get over a hurdle. If you got a hurdle in front of you, you got to get over the hurdle. And there's a point where you're a hurdle jumper. In a race. They got to jump over the hurdle, There's a point where they're still going, their body is still going up in the air over that hurdle. That's where we are right now with this coronavirus. We're still increasing. It's still increasing. And during this period in time, the markets are going to be sinking. Now, the Fed has put a kind of put in there at 18,000. That's they've come along and they've kind of showed you now that they do not want that market to go below 18,000. But the thing about it is, being as this is on the increase, we're still on the increase with this virus. I'm not sure that the Fed can hold it above 18,000. I think it's going to break down. And I think they're going to try to stop it. They might go into even more emergency measures, more stimulus, new stimulus programs and stuff. But I think ultimately, I don't think they're going to be able to stop it from breaking down. I could see this market breaking down to 16, even 14,000. But, on the other side of that, once we get past the hurdle and this virus starts to disappear and the market gets news that we're peaking, and the virus cases are starting to go into decline, which might only be a couple months from now. It might only be like 60 days from now before that happens. Once that happens, then the markets are going to start to front run everything. And we're going to see the markets go back up again. And so, the people that buy in at the bottom, if you can hit that bottom, now, I'm going to be on here, and I'm going to be every day, and I'm going to be telling you guys when I think we're getting near the bottom. But I don't think we're near the bottom yet. I think we got more to go before we get down near the bottom. And, for the people that do buy the market in around its bottom, they're going to see a good rising market for a long time again. I think quite a while on all this stimulus and everything. The Fed's not going to be able to pull the stimulus away when this ends. They're going to have to keep stimulating this thing to infinity. $125 billion a day, and the Fed balance sheet, I mean, it's just going to keep right on going, heading right up there toward 20 trillion. That's where we're at with this thing. Anyway, let's get in there and take a look at these markets today. $14.25 for silver. When we're really going to see gold and silver take off? When we see the virus take off. That's going to be your lunchtime, I think, for gold and silver. Is when when they start front running and the virus starts to peak, and that's only a couple months from now. I think we're going to see gold and silver go back into their bull run again, but I think it's going to be the strongest bull run we've seen in a long time. It's going to have some real teeth to it for gold and silver. And crypto. I think it's all going to start to move upwards then, really, really good, because I'm going to tell you what, with these traders selling off their gold and silver to make up for stock market losses, they've really killed this thing, and it's really down cheap right now. Look at the price of silver, $14.28, ridiculously cheap, if you can get some. That's the thing is right now, if you try to get the real coins, you're going to pay a premium, and they're hard to get even with a premium. But they're probably worth it. Even though you look at this spot price and you say, oh, wow, I should buy some coins, but where can I get coins down? Well, you can't. I don't think you can get any coins around the spot price right now, or even close to it. You're going to have to pay a premium, but it's probably worth it. It really is. $14.28 for silver, and now let's take a look at gold. Gold $16.24 today, and it's really low right now. Gold and silver has really been busted over this. It's busted its chops, and now here, take a look at cryptocurrency. We might actually see the spot price of cryptocurrency, gold and silver. We might see these spot prices actually go a bit lower, because this is awful deflationary right now, what's happening. The Prime Minister of England coming down with it, and everybody in the United States, the numbers increasing and everything. Hospitals are starting to get overworked, and soon the hospitals are going to start to have a hard time. I saw a guy last night, in New York, and he was sick with the coronavirus, but he hadn't been tested yet. He was standing in line, he was talking to them, and he said he had been in line for 5.5 hours. Okay? And you know what the lineups are like? I mean, Okay, they're supposed to keep like 8 feet distance between each other, and the police are patrolling down there and everything. And I mean, it's tough. They're standing there out, and they're sick with the coronavirus, standing out there for like 5 hours in the cold. 6 hours in the cold, waiting in line to get their test. And they think that they're going to have their test and they're going to give them a magic pill, the hospital. A lot of people think, they have so much faith in the hospitals and in the doctors. And a guy might stand there for 6 hours and he finally gets in and they give him his test. They give a quick swab up his nose or whatever, and then they say, well, now they say to him, now go home. They tell him, go home and get some rest. And he says, well, aren't you going to give me the magic pill to get me over this? Aren't you going to give me a needle or something more? Because I'm sick. And they say, well, you can breathe. You're not that bad. Go home and get some rest, And he says, well, I would have stayed home, if I'd known I was just going to wait here and you guys weren't going to cure me. Why did I wait here 5.5 hours or 6 hours in this cold, being coughed on, and everything, if you're just going to take a quick test and send me home. That's how it's going to be for a lot of people out there who are standing in line waiting for their tests, because they don't have a cure for this. There's no magic pill. You guys out there that are watching my show, if you get sick with this, there's no magic pill. They might have some treatment that they're working on and stuff, but the general public's not getting that yet. That'd be down the line, maybe a month or two out there or something or whatever. These treatments that they're developing, they're in development. You're not going to get it, the treatment, whatever it is, and they don't have any cure for this right now. There's no magic pill that they can give you. They'll tell you this. They'll tell you one of two things. If you're really, really bad, they'll take you in and try to find a ventilator. And if you're not really bad, they're going to send you home. And they're going to tell you to get lots of rest, drink lots of fluids and stuff. The same thing they tell you when you got a bad flu. And so that's the way it's going right now. And one of the ways you can kind of tell, you can kind of test yourself, and you got a set of stairs in your house, climb up the set of stairs. And if you only make it halfway up the set of stairs and you're gasping for air, then you probably need to get in there. But if you walk straight up those stairs, sick, to the top of the stairs, and you're not gasping for air, you're not laying on the ground gasping for air, or you don't have to sit down. If you don't have to sit down and try to get your air, then you're probably got what's called a mild case, And even though you feel awful, that's the fever making you feel awful, And that's what fevers do. You don't feel good, you got a fever. They call it malaise, okay? So the thing is don't panic. Don't go all crazy and panic and everything. This thing is moving around. I mean, it's so catchy. And it's moving around, and so much of it out there that you don't realize how much of it. If you're going by these official numbers, that there's like 80,000 in the United States or whatever, that's only representing the people that's got it so bad that they can't breathe. And then they have to get in there and they give them the test, But what about the armies of people out there who probably have it but just think they got a head cold? And you can get over it, if you got that, just like a head cold sort of thing, you can go home and you can take some chicken soup and stuff, and in a couple of weeks you might get over it, and you might not never know you've really had it because maybe you weren't tested, okay? But that's the way it's going to be with armies of people. Legions of people out there are not going to get tested. They're going to have it and get over it. That's what's going to happen in the next couple months. And we're probably coming to a point of time in about a month from now where even if you do get a bad case of it, you go to the hospital and they'll be out of respirators. That could be coming. I mean, I'm not going to say for sure that that's coming, but I'm going to tell you that it's starting to move through the mass of the population right now. There's a big bulk of population out there, 300 million people, starting to move through that 300 million people very rapidly. It's doubling every 3 days. Okay, let that sink in for a minute. However many people in the United States got it right now, and that's a lot. It might be in the millions. That number's going to double in 3 more days. That's how quick. And then 3 days later, it's going to be 4 times as many as there is now. That's only 6 days from now. There's going to be 4 times as many people as there is now. And 3 more days, 9 days from now, there's going to be double that again. It's doubling every 3 days. This is exponential growth. And I'm going to tell you, this thing is not going to be around long because every darn person's going to have had it in just like a month or 2 from now. 90 days from now, the complexion is going to be entirely different in the world. I think we're going to be on the part where the cases are reducing. Just 90 days. That's how quick this thing is moving. But I don't think they're going to be able to hold these markets up. I think that the Dow's going to drop down to probably, when it's at its peak, this virus, I'm thinking 16, maybe 14,000 for the Dow, when that happens. And for people that buy in, if they can hit that bottom, I think they're going to do really good. 923 we're down today on the Dow. 21,628. There's where the Dow is. We got a down day today. Now we're looking at crude oil. This is the biggest, worst thing right there. $1.06 down because this is an oil-based economy. And crude oil sinking like that is a really bad sign. I would say that this market here, the Fed is throwing out all they plan to throw out for now. In other words, they've gave as many bones out as they can. Their bone bag is just all the dogs have got a bone, and the price is still falling on the Dow. I don't think that we're going to see any real positive energy in the Dow in the next week. I think probably all of next week we're going to be heading down toward that 16,000 mark on the Dow. All next week. It's going to be bad. I think it's going to be bad. But I think when the Dow starts to get to a certain point, once it gets below 18,000, it starts to head down lower, the Fed is going to be challenged to come up with even more bones from their bag for more dogs. And that's going to be really when the rubber meets the road. That's when we're going to see even bigger stimulus programs from the Fed to try to keep it up. The Dow. They're going to do everything that they can. Let's take a look now at oil, and oil is down today, 21.54. I've never seen such a low oil price. And dropping. Awful, awful. And this is going to have a very, very negative effect upon the economy, Okay, U.S. dollar index, 99.48. It's going along sideways. Dollar is staying quite strong. Now let's take a look at U.S. Treasuries. And what we're seeing is some of the yields now are dropping below negative. Looks like the U.S. 3-month is at negative basis points, And here's the thing, the U.S. 30-year is still at 1.34, And so it's not negative, and the U.S. 10-year is at 1.7. No, 0.7. 0.7% of the U.S. 10-year. 0.74 today. And we're looking at falling yields on the long end of the curve, a little bit of unchanged in the middle, and the short end of the curve, we're looking at very slightly rising yields. Well, that's what we got going on right now. That's the picture right now. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.